So today we're going to be talking about the devaluation of the dollar. Sometimes people will call it like weak currency, but in order to understand the devaluation of any currency, we have to first start off by defining what is money. And money has certain principles. Money has to be a medium of exchange, something that everybody accepts. Money has to be durable. It can't be something like bananas that rot. Money must be divisible. In other words, you have to be able to give change for it. And it has, as I said, it has to be universally accepted and typically accepted for paying taxes. Also, money is a store of value. In other words, if you buy, it does maintain its value except for inflation sometimes. And it's a unit of account. Let's start with some early money. Way back many centuries ago, in an island called Yap, they used something called the rhinestone, and they were giant stones that they didn't move. All that happened was the stone had value. They were all unique, and what one would do was to switch the ownership of the stone from one person to another, and it was the ownership that was sold. The physical stone stayed the same. The irony in this situation is there was a gentleman named David O'Keefe who went to another island, bought a whole bunch of stones that were like the rhinestones. He brought them back to Yap, and the economy collapsed. Other things used for money has been salt. Remember, salt preserves food. Tobacco has been used for money. Beaver pelts. Also, paper as we use today. Iron. In China, they had something called flying money. That was the first paper money. And before they used that, they used iron pieces of that would be circular, that would be put on a chain that you carry around, so they decided to use paper money. That was the first instance of paper money. Sort of even when Marco Polo came back and he told the Europeans that the Chinese were using paper money, they really couldn't believe it. Tulips were used as money. If you go back to Holland, there was a whole economy set up around tulip bulbs. And silver, as you well know, gold and copper. But the main thing we want to talk about is the gold standard, which is probably the strongest standard of any type of money that ever existed. The unique thing about gold is obviously it's scarce, and the irony is that in all societies all over the world, for some reason they all appreciated gold. Gold became something special to man. It never tarnishes. It's something that stays in its condition forever, and it's used worldwide. What happened is, at the end of World War II, is when the gold standard really, in America, throughout the world, really became a problem. The other subject with gold, like any other currency or any other kind of commodity, like a metal, is it could be debased. In other words, you could add other metals to it to stretch it out so that you're getting more gold than, let's say, you're mixing it with copper. The modern history of the evaluation of money, or the modern history of money in the United States, really begins in 1913 with the establishment of the Federal Reserve System. And initially, it was established because of all the problems that had occurred prior to money in the United States. The Federal Reserve was established to act as a central organization to sort of make sure that you didn't have large fluctuations of money. And the United States was one of the last places to actually put in a central bank. When they installed the Federal Reserve System, at the same time, there was an amendment, the 16th Amendment came, and that was the income tax. So they started the Federal Reserve, and they had the income tax come in to sort of pay for it, sort of. During the Great Depression, Franklin Delano Roosevelt took America, gave gold a price of $20.67 per ounce. Later on, when things started getting really bad with the Depression, Franklin Delano Roosevelt made it so that Americans would have to turn in their gold. You could not have a gold certificate, you could not have gold bars and like that, but you could keep your jewelry, and you could keep any type of coinage that you'd have if you were a coin collector. The next event that happened was in 1947. There was a meeting called the Bretton Woods meeting, where the world got together and they decided to base the world's currency, peg gold to the dollar bill. So the dollar bill became synonymous with gold. Well, for a while, the United States started spending money in the 60s, and during the Johnson administration, a lot of countries like France, Charles de Gaulle, Spain came, and they wanted their physical gold given to them. They just didn't trust the United States because of the inflation that was going on due to the Vietnam War and the Great Society. In 1971, there was, I recall, there was a program called Bonanza on TV. It was a top-rated show. Everybody watched it. It was interrupted one time in 1971 by President Nixon, where what he did was he made the announcement that the United States was detaching itself from gold. It was, in the entire conversation, it was such a small piece of his message, but it meant so much because what that did is that detached the dollar from gold and allowed it to flow free throughout the world. It actually created the first foreign exchange market. So, some of the issues that you have when you have devaluation or cheap currency is you have low interest rates, which is good for businesses. They can borrow. Credit requirements change somewhat, but what happens is the imports that you're getting are cheaper because your dollar is worth more. Contrary exports are more expensive because they have to pay more for the dollar. Keep in mind, all made 88% of transactions in the world are settled in dollars. So eventually, the stability of the dollar affects every currency in the world. So let's talk about a minute for some things that can affect the devaluation of the dollar. Obviously, war. We talked about social programs, as we said that Lyndon Johnson had. There are black swans. Black swans are unforeseen incidents, such as COVID-19, such as the 2008 financial crisis. They have dramatic impact on currency value, a lack of confidence, a lack of trust, like what happened with SVB, could affect things dramatically. It also when money is cheap, as we said before, it allows people to do things that they may not do if the money's more expensive, because if it's cheap, sometimes people will borrow and go for more risky adventures and things of that nature. Pretty much that's it. I need your help. I need you to subscribe. I need you to like and give me a thumbs up, and have a pleasant day. Goodbye.